Hello everyone, and a warm welcome to today's webinar. My name is Michael Zapp, and I will be your host today. This webinar is part of our Sicam 8 series, and today we are providing you more details of our Sicam 8 software applications, Sicam S8000 and Sicam Hmi. Let's have a short look on the agenda. We will start with a short recap of the Sicam 8 platform approach. Then we will show you the workflow for Sicam S8000, how to install the software into a Linux-based IPC, and how to configure the RTU functionality of Sicam S8000, followed by a summary and an outlook of the future Sicam S8000 functionality. The same topics, meaning showing the workflow and sum it up with an outlook for the Sicam Hmi, are the next agenda items. At the end, we will, as always, open our stage to answer your questions. I said we, because today I am here in a double function. Additionally to my role as host, I will be also one of the presenters. But I'm not alone. My colleague Jorge Diaz is with me. Jorge, please join me at stage.
Hello.
Jorge and I am in the promoter team for our Sicam 8 portfolio. I am a technical consultant and Jorge is our application specialist. Please note that you will not be able to post your questions directly during the presentation. However, we already invite you to insert your questions in the question box located at the top right side of the window. Once you exit the full screen made by pressing the escape button. Your questions will be addressed after our presentation during the concluding question and answer session. Furthermore, you will have access to the on-demand recording right after the session. That's it regarding the technicalities. Let us get started. Some of you may have attended our Sicam 8 unboxing event and the first session, where we introduced the concept. Please miss these sessions, and additionally, as recap, let me start with a short abstract before Jorge and I will present the details of the Sicam 8 applications, Sicam S8000 and Sicam Hmi. What was the reason of extending our proven Sicam 8 family into a platform concept, namely the Sicam 8 power automation platform? Coming from the way the energy generation and distribution is changing since years and the impact that this is having to the projects, what need to be realized, it ends up in a need for speed. How can this be reached? The key is separation and modularity. The Sicam 8 Power Automation platform can be seen as a toolkit or a construction set and is able to tidily connect the Sicam 8 software, not only with our Sicam 8 hardware, but also with third-party industrial PCs. The clue for this connection is handled by the so-called Sicam 8 core. The focus of today's webinar is not only to give you some general information of the Sicam 8 software applications, Sicam S8000 and Sicam Hmi, but Jorge will show you how easy and efficient you can engineer these applications with Sicam Device Manager, the engineering tool for Sicam 8. Our Sicam 8000 family is already designed in the architecture to be modular and scalable regarding the hardware components. Based on that, we are scaling further, not only hardware-wise anymore, but software-wise as well. We offer our customers a platform where applications can run on the existing 8000 hardware, but also on a third-party industrial PC, if even more performance is required. You already know our Sicam 8000 RTUs. There are basically two family branches. One is made by the small CP8000, CP8021 and CP8022, which are wonderful devices on their own, right? However, for more demanding applications where maximum performance and the highest cybersecurity requirements are paramount, the Linux-based RTUs have the best toolset available. Now, the smaller RTUs will not be part of our new platform Sicam 8. Instead, the wonderful properties of the Linux-based RTUs are the basis for this new platform. The Sicam 8000 Linux-based RTUs run on a hardware which fulfill already demanding requirements. On this hardware, the Sicam 8 software is running. This solution gives the RTU the capability to fulfill a wide range of demanding technical requirements. advanced automation functions, higher cybersecurity features, multiple communication protocols, and the possibility to host user-defined applications, also known as CApps. The Sicam 8000 RTUs, while very powerful, are constrained by the supplied hardware, like processor power and the size of available RAM. Well, with the new Sicam 8 platform, the Sicam 8 software can be installed on third-party IPC's hardware with more processor performance and more RAM, allowing to install even extremely large applications. When installing the Sicam 8 software on a third-party industrial PC, it is called Sicam 8 software solution. All that you need is that this PC is equipped with a compatible operating system such as Linux Debian. The basic software module you install on a third-party PC is called Sicam S8000 and will bring with it all the advantages available in the Sicam 8000 RTUs, but with all the desired characteristics available on the provided PC. Now, both Sicam 8000 and Sicam S8000 are using basically the same software, running in different hardware. We have the Sicam 8 applications designed to run on the platform, which means that the same application can run on any compatible hardware. One example is the Sicam Hmi. The central tool for configuration and parameterization of the Sicam 8 components and applications is the Sicam Device Manager, well known to the 8000 users. For a Sicam 8 project, you need two different types of licenses. First, a Sicam Device Manager license for the configuration and parameterization. This license can be ordered via the online software delivery service. And it is a so-called ALM license, meaning it can be transferred and moved using the Automation License Manager and is per design modular. And for the configuration of the new Sicam Hmi functionality, you only need to order an add-on in case you already have a license for the Sicam Device Manager. And the same concept we will also use in the future, using add-on licenses for upcoming new Sicam 8 configuration tasks. So no new training will be necessary as a workflow, as we will see later from Jorge, for new parts of the Sicam 8 automation platform, like for Sicam S8000, are identically to what you already know. The Sicam 8 software application are made available for download from our C portal and can be used for 21 days in a trial mode. The unlimited use in runtime mode needs a license. The function point manager is a tool to create or upgrade license file for this Sicam 8 software applications and can be processed on demand within minutes. The handling is easy and straightforward. All that is needed is to register and create an account for your function point manager. When that is done, you can order your Sicam function point budget, for example, needed for your project or for 1 year. As soon as the ordered function points are credited to your account, you can generate the license file and download it. The license file can be then transferred via Sicam Web into your Sicam 8 device. Some of you may be already using the function point manager, but some not. I want to show you very shortly the easiness of use. After you open the function point manager and switched to the license file generation part, you need to enter the serial number of your Sicam 8 hardware, target hardware. As you can see, additionally to the A8000 CPUs, the option Sicam 8 software application is available as target system for a third-party industrial PC. Under current license types, you could see all the licenses already generated for your Sicam 8 hardware device. Of course, when doing that for the first time, there are no licenses listed there. You need then to select under new license types the licenses for the application you need for your project. Select now step by step the licenses you need. Press the Add button, and after all licenses are in the list, you can generate the license file containing all the selected applications by pressing the Generate License File button. The generated license file is after some seconds available, and you can download it and transfer the file via Sicam Web into your device. But now enough with the recap. I'm handing over now to Jorge, and he will show you the ease of use and efficient way to engineer our Sicam S8000 application with the Sicam Device Manager. Jorge, stage is yours.
Thank you, Michael. So, as mentioned by Michael, I will try to show you in a practical way how you can configure the Sicam A software solution, called Sicam S8000, in a Linux-based PC. Basically, it is the same philosophy that we have in our wonderful Sicam A8000 RTUs, but just in third-party hardware. So let's go to the practical example, because this is an easier way to understand what we mean but with all this history about this new platform. So let's assume we have this PC where we have running the operating system Linux Debian 11. Now, what is the exercise that we have today? The aim of the exercise is to install the Sicam S8000 on this Linux PC. So we have a Sicam S8000 device here, and we will integrate into it one CPROTEC 5 device through the communication protocol IEC62050. So a very small project that's showing the whole process. So let's go to the first step, installing the S8000 instance in the Linux PC. So we have here the PC where the operating system Linux is running. So we need to bring here the installation file of the Sicam S8000 application. To do that, we can go here to Activities and open the File Manager. Now, if we had maybe LAN connection, we could share through shared folders, bring the software here. But one most common and easy way to share files with the Debian PC would be through a USB stick, where you can copy the installation file, and then it will be available here in the file application. Of course, this you will get maybe downloaded from the CEO's portal as soon as the software is released, and you can actually test it on your own. I will go then to this USB stick, and then we can see the installation file. Yeah. This is a compressed file. Okay, so I will just select it with right click. I can select copy, and then we will go back to home. This is the home folder of the logged in user in Debian. In this case, the user is called Debian as well. So I will just paste the file here. So right click here and then paste. Then we have the file here. Now we need to extract it. So I will just click on it, right click, and on this menu I can say extract here. And then the file will be extracted in this new folder setup. We may want maybe just to be like very organized. We want to rename the name of this folder, not to leave it in setup. So with right click, I can just select here in rename. And then maybe we can select a suitable name like S8000 and then rename. Then we have the folder here ready. Okay, so now we will, in order to be able to install the software, it's normal to use the terminal. It's like the command prompt in Debian. So to open it, we will go to Activities, and then we can look for T, like terminal, and look for the terminal and click on it. The terminal is open here beside it. Now, we would like now to move to the S8000 folder. To move to this folder, we just type here the really simple command cd and the name of the folder, S8000. This is in Linux, this is case sensitive. So we must use the same size of the characters used here. Then we press enter. This means we are here in this terminal inside of this folder. We will just jump in here just to see what happens here. Here we can see the files that were extracted. And the file that we want to install is this setup.sh. But first, we need to elevate the privilege we have in this user, because it doesn't have a root privilege, which is the highest privilege that we can have in Linux. So for that, we need to enter a really small Linux command, sudo space su. Okay. There are some things that are related to the Linux operating system. If you are a Windows user, maybe you are not familiar with that, but there are not really a lot that you need to know. So there are only a few, and all of them will be included in the manual documentation of the system. So don't worry about it. Once you press it, you can see that the user has been elevated with root rights. Now we need to install the software. To install the software, we just press type / and the name of the file setup.sh, and enter. Then the installation starts, and we will be asked to enter a name for the instance of Sicam S8000 that we're installing in this PC. So one suitable name maybe could be Ccore1. So we type it, and we continue the installation with enter. Then the installation continues and finishes. What is maybe interesting to check now, because at the moment, S8000 is already installed there with factory settings. As when you get a new Sicam S8000 RTU, it comes in factory settings, a default IP address, for example. So here you will see that the system is telling us that the factory default setting can be found in this root, this path. So it will be under root FTS, IES, and here you have the file, the JSON file, systemconfig.json. I will open it, and here we can see that it is somehow mapping one virtual interface in the S8000 system, which is called set0, with one internal network, which is called ENS33. Okay, basically, where is this coming from? If you check, basically, in the Linux system, you go to the networks and you check in wire connected and then wire settings. You can go to one connection created there and go to identity. And you will find there that the MAC address actually is labeled with this ENS33. So the message in this case is what the installation of S8000 did was read from the computer where you are installing the software, the hardware that is there, the MAC addresses of the available Ethernet interfaces. And you will create a configuration file that is adapting or assigning your interfaces, virtual interfaces, with these physical interfaces. This is also defining a default IP address for engineering, just for the first step. Normally, you don't have to change anything here. It would be just enough to leave it by default and then make the changes later in Sicam Device Manager. But maybe if you later add some additional interfaces or so, you will have to make some changes here or adaptations. But here is how the match is done between hardware and the software. Now, all that is left to do is to start the S8000 instance. For that, there is also a small command that will also be described in the S8000 documentation manual, which is called systemctl start, and then the name of the instance that we want to start. In this case, Ccore1. We just click it and enter, and then it will be started. And if we reboot the Debian machine, then the system will be started automatically as well. Okay, so this is all you need to do for the installation of the system. Then we can go to the next step. The Debian machine with the S8000 is already here in factory settings. we need to create a configuration for that system. This we do with a Windows computer where we have installed the configuration software Sicam Device Manager, the same software that you already use and know for the Sicam 8000 RTUs. So it's exactly the same software. In this case, we have already created a project S8000 PROJ. And only thing to consider, the possibility to have S8000 devices configured here is only possible from the Sicam Device Manager version 4. So what would be the steps that we need to proceed? Exactly as with the RTU, we create a new device. We select a name, like S8000. We select a type, Sicam 8 software solution. And then we assign the engineering address. Since we will work first with the factory settings, then we can leave this one. And we select the region number, component number, common as do, and so on, exactly as you do already with the Sicam 8000 RTUs. You confirm it. Now we have a container for the configuration of this S8000. So we click here. And exactly as we would have done with a Sicam 8000, we first go to the hardware. And in the hardware, we need to add the CPU by clicking here. We have here the x64 template, which we will use in this case. And here, the first thing is the device manager is telling us that it will include two firmwares. One, which is called Sicor Ecosystem, which includes all the instructions to make the interface between the Linux Debian PC and the Sicam 8 solution, and other software called Sicam Web that enables us to monitor, to configure and monitor and diagnostic the S8000 via web services, HTTPS. Then we confirm it, and you can see that this has been created. Now it is interesting just to check. If we click here and go to the properties, we will see that there is a connection created, Ethernet, set 0. Remember in the JSON file, we had this reference, and it has a custom name, ETH0. Just keep it in mind, okay? And this is using this, this is the connection that we have defined in the system at the moment. So we already have like a real connection in the configuration from the device manager to the S8000 that is also connected to the MAC address in the Debian machine. So all the chain is connected. We confirm, and now let's see what was created automatically in the communication box. As when we configure a Sicam 8000, in a LAN interface, we have one LAN interface that was created, which we will need for configuration, for example, which is mapped to this existing, the only one connection that was created at the beginning in this mapping with this IP address. If we go to server services, we will see that also for the engineering interface, this interface has been assigned. So in the configuration, it is already programmed a way to configure to monitor this S8000. No need to make changes for this example now. Let's go home. And then now let's proceed to go and equip the S8000 with the 650 firmware. This we do by going to the application box. In the application box, we will see in the system, we have already this Sicor firmware that we had mentioned before. We need to add now the RTU firmware. So we go to S8000, and then we will add this firmware. This is equivalent to the master firmware in the Sicam 8000 RTU. We confirm it. Then we go one step deeper, and we can add here the protocol elements that can be routed to this master firmware. So let's click here, plus, and in the protocol 0, we will select the ETI5 firmware, which is the one for 650. We confirm. So far, so good. Now, let's integrate the cProtect device. How do we do that? This is exactly 100% the same as what you normally do with a Sicam A8000 RTU. You go to the IC61850 box, then we go to the ETI5 client, because the S8000 will be a client in this case, and then we will import the configuration file of the 62050 servers that will be integrated here, like this CID file from this zipprotec. We confirm it. This device there will be read. We can say, okay, we need to import to integrate this device. We say continue. And then we select the information that we want to integrate, to read from this device into our S8000 project. Once we have done it, then all the information is available to be imported in the Sicam Device Manager project. So we will just say continue, continue, and done. This completes the configuration of the S8000. So what is next? We need to load this configuration into the Debian Linux machine. How do we do that? It is connected in the same network. Important. We need to be able to reach it to this connection 172.16.03. And then in Device Manager, we will go to the upload and download box. Now, the Linux machine will install the S8000, which is in factory settings. So the first connection will be to an untrusted certificate. So we will receive this warning. This is completely okay. We will just confirm the connection. Then we will be asked for a username and password. As username, we enter administrator, all in small characters. And the S8000 is in factory settings, so there is no password there. So we just confirm it, leaving this field empty. Now, the S8000 will force us to define a new password for the user administrator, which we will define here and confirm. And then we are done. The device manager compares the configuration in this project with the configuration in the S8000, which is factory settings. So everything is different. And it is telling us that the initialization and restart are required. So we do this through this upload to the device button. We click on it. We get this warning. Do you want to initialize? Then yes. Then the device will be initialized. And then the system will tell us that a restart is required. Restart will take place. And when everything is done, you will see everything as it is here, green. Now that we succeeded with that, we can now test if this works. So we go back here to home and go to the Sicam web connection. And we can log in with the password that we define for the administrator user. And then, for example, you can go to the diagnostics and go to the diagnosis status. And you can see here we have two warnings indicating that there are no licenses installed for the system, which is correct. We are working in demo mode. We have not loaded any license. The S8000, as Michael mentioned, requires a license. And then we can go here, home and monitoring and simulation, process data values, and we can expand here, protocols, 650 client, the R7, the R7SJ is connected, and we can dive deeper, receive signals, and we can see all the signals coming from this device. So as simple as that, you can create your own S8000 project and initialize an S8000 system. So now Michael will continue showing you some of the features that will come in the first version, and then later I will continue with some more configuration tips with the Sicam Hmi. Michael?
Thank you, Jorge. That was, like always, really impressive to see how easy it is to engineer a Sicam S8000 application, especially when you already have some experience with our Sicam Device Manager. And you earned a short break, but only a short one, before you can impress us again in showing the same way the engineering of the Sicam Hmi application. I will use your break to round this up by reiterating the features of our Sicam S8000. And I also give you some outlook what is planned for the next steps. The Sicam S8000 package includes, as we saw in the installation, the Sicam 8 core application required to handle the different Sicam 8 applications. It also includes the classical RTU applications, such as signal management, programmable logic controllers, PLC functionality, and the communication protocols. In comparison to the Sicam A8000, where the performance is limited by the microprocessor available on the CPU modules, with the Sicam S8000 solution, the limit is set by the CPU of the third-party computer, which can be much more powerful than the standard Sicam 8000 CPUs. That upscaling is clearly visible in the first point, listed here in the feature set available already in the first step. The Sicam S8000 will be able to support the integration of up to 1,200 IEDs. And also on the first release, TCP/IP-based communication protocols will be available. Serial protocols will be available in the near future. The PLC editor, CFC editor, will be available exactly in the same way as you know it from our current Sicam 8000 family. Also, related to the cybersecurity, the same cybersecurity features provided for our Sicam 8000 family will be already available for the Sicam S8000 from the first release. And as in the Sicam 8000, the Sicam S8000 system can be conveniently managed and monitored via Sicam Web. Now, there is not a one-size-fits-all approach in the Sicam S8000 package. Depending on your needs, you can equip the solution only with the applications that you need, and you can scale it up as required using the function points and the licenses created from the function point manager. Additionally to the Sicam S8000 base application, some very important additional applications can be used on top and together with this. For example, what we see later, the embedded Sicam Hmi application with integrated event and alarm management can be used from the very start. Also, use OPC UA server protocol, what will provide additional ways to exchange information with a higher level control center, for example. And the advanced Sicam application, dynamic load management, will provide many benefits for the management of infrastructure with renewable energy sources. Now, also the Sicam S8000 can in general be used on any hardware with Linux Debian 11 operating system. We are pre-testing the system with some selected PCs available on the market. So in case you want to reduce the risk of any hardware compatibility to almost zero, you could order one of our pre-tested models. Before the short break is over, let me give you a glimpse on what can be expected in the next steps regarding the Sicam S8000 functionality. The most important Sicam S8000 functionality are already available in the first step. But if you compare the RTU features provided on our own Sicam 8 hardware like CP8050, you can see that further steps are necessary. Especially for important plants, very often redundancy, not only for the communication using parallel redundancy protocol or high seamless redundancy algorithm are required, but hardware redundancy on the controller itself. These functions are, of course, on the roadmap for use also together with third-party industrial PCs. The same is valid for installation of CApps, not only on the CP8050 and CP8031, but also on a third-party industrial PC. And another very important RTU functionality is the possibility of using input-output modules for acquiring information coming from the process and to connect IEDs not only via Ethernet-based protocols, but also via serial protocols. Connecting A8000 input-output modules to a third-party industrial PC and having IEDs connected via serial protocols is planned, as you can see here on the roadmap. And now I hand over again to Jorge, and I hope you are as excited as I am to see in the same way how easy the engineering of our Sicam Hmi is. Welcome back on stage, Jorge.
Thank you very much. So let's see now how we can complete the exercise by integrating Sicam Hmi application into our existing project. So we had created this S8000 project where we had integrated one bay, one Protect 5 here, and now we will configure one Sicam Hmi application where we will have one bay with one single line diagram, like this one event list, and one alarm list. So a very small example, but having a little bit of everything, so you can see how this system can be configured easily. First, what are the requirements? You need to have, to perform this configuration, a Sicam Device Manager license. It could be the basic or the standard license. And you will also need an add-on, the Sicam Device Manager HMI configuration license, which will enable to configure the Sicam HMI and the event list. Now, we go to our existing S8000 project, and to equip the HMI, Sicam HMI and the event list, we will need to go to Application Configuration and go to the Applications part. And there we will add here a new application, the Sicam HMI first, and then another one, the Sicam IVA. Now that we are here, we can go back here home, and we will see that we have two additional boxes, one to configure the Sicam HMI and one to configure the Sicam IVA, or Events and Alarm Archiving. So let's start by going to the IVA. In the IVA, we will find the signals that are available in the S8000 on the left. We have a working area in the middle, and we have one side on the right where we can see some properties of objects that we have selected on the left. So, for example, if I select one signal, like this command, I will see on the right the properties of this signal, including the text to be displayed if for off signals or for on signals. If you want the behavior to be different and to display in the event list close or open, then you can change it here. You can do it one by one on each signal. But you can also make use of wonderful possibilities for bulk edit. For example, with the flash filter functionality, you can select this CTL val here and select only commands, select all of them, and apply these properties to all or to several signals at the same time. This you can do for also positions maybe. So for the positions, you select how the different positions will be displayed in the event list and alarm list. Or for the protection trips, you can also select them. You can select also if for a specific one, the alarm should be assigned when the message is on, or if it is off, like to be inverted. You can do it like that. Now, you can also select for the measurements, even though they are not really in the alarm and event archive. Here you can select the scaling that these signals will have in the HMI and the unit that will be displayed in the HMI. This is quite important. You can have different escalation, for example, for currents, and a different for phase-to-earth voltages, another for phase-to-phase voltages, another for frequency, and so on. So in this way, you can select how every signal will look like in the Sicam HMI. Now, there is another tab here, which is called Objects. In this tab, we need to create the actual event lists and alarm list objects. How do we create one of those? We use the plus button here. Then we can select, give a name, like alarm list total, and a type, alarm list. We confirm. We have one here. We need also an event list, so we will click on the plus, event list total, change the type to event list, and confirm. Then we have these two types here. Now, we will have to assign signal to this. to this event list and alarm list. To be able to do that, we need to open them first. So we can just open both at the same time. How? I can just select both, and then I will use this Open Selected Objects button. Then the two objects have been opened in the middle. I can see that the event list total is actually selected here. So I will just jump to the Signals tab. And here I can just select the signals that I want to be included in the event list, which would be basically all the indications, all the commands, the alarms, and only the measure values are not there. And then I can just assign them to the event list through this button. They are here. Now we do the same for the alarm list. I will go to the alarm list. And then I select here only those signals that I want to include in the alarm list. Like, for example, these protection trips. And then I assign them. Basically, with this, we are ready with the configuration of the EVA. So let's go to the configuration of the Sicam HMI. So we go back home and we go to the Sicam HMI box. Here we will see that we have a tab called Graphics, where we can add graphics here. We have also some working area here, and we have additional tabs for single line elements and for signals. The first step would be to create a new graphic. So we click here. We give it a name, like, for example, Bay1 single line diagram, and we select a type, like only single line. And then we confirm. Once we do that, then we know that for this one, for this graphic that we just created, we have here the drawing board where we can create our single line diagram. So we will need to draw here to include some symbols, which we can find here under single line elements. Under single line diagram elements, we will find specific objects for substation, for example, automation. And everything works here via drag and drop. So if we want an object, we select it, drag it, and drop it where we want to place it. For example, a bus bar. So we will see here we have horizontal bus bar. So we select it, and then we drag and drop it here. And then it is displayed here. Now, we want to have maybe a disconnector connected to this bus bar. So we select now this connector, drag, and we drop it close to the bus bar. When we drag and drop an object close to another object, then the system tries automatically to connect it, which is fine. It saves us some work. We can rename the object, like A1Q1, and then we want to add now a circuit breaker. So we go to circuit breaker, drag, and drop here. And when we drop it, then it will be automatically connected to this connector nearby. We rename it. Now maybe we want to add a feeder. So we do the same, drag and drop close to the circuit breaker. So it is connected automatically. I can reposition the items later. Okay, and the connection remains. Now I want to add the air switch, which is basically a disconnector. So I select here this connector, drag and drop, and I will place it here. This time it is not closed, so it will not create an automatic connection. This is just fine. I will rename it. I can see this text over here, so I can just drag and drop and fix it. And now we may want to add the earth symbol, which could be this grounding. So drag and drop. We can remove maybe this text because it doesn't say a lot. And now we just need this connection here. So we can just, we'll go to free shapes here and scroll down. and then we have this symbol. We drag and drop it, and we can select it and fix the size to fit it. Maybe we also would like to have a text label here to indicate the name of the bay. So we can just use this object, drag and drop, and we can change here the text. We can change also the size and the appearance, the color, to fit what we want to have. Maybe the last thing that we forgot, we would like to have a measurement here. So we will just go here to the SLD elements and select one measurement value. And via drag and drop, we put it here, and we rename it to be the active power, or P. So far, we have been able to easily draw the layout of this single line diagram. What is still missing is to fit the elements of these single line diagrams with actual signals that we have in the system. So now let's do that. We go now to the signals tab, and we will select we look for the active power signal, this one. So this would be via drag and drop. Just from here, just drop it into the object where we have the active power, and we drop it. And we will see that here in the properties, the state has been changed to this variable. That's it. If we want to do this for this connector, then we will just select the position of this connector, and via drag and drop, we leave it here, and we can see that this has been assigned here. And we do the same for the command, drag and drop, and the command is here. You can do the same for every object in this single line diagram. And with this, the picture will be almost complete. So we can proceed with further graphics. We will need an additional graphic for the event list. So we click here on the plus on the graphics. And we select the title, the event list total, and we select this is only events, and we confirm it. Now we have here a new graphic, event list total, and we see in the middle that we have a warning telling us that no event list assigned. Click here and select an event list in the properties. So we are always doing as we are told by the system. We click here, and you will see that now on the properties, we can select the event list. So we select the event list total, and then this picture is ready to display the event list. We do the same for the alarm list. So new picture, alarm list total as name, only alarms, confirm. Then click here, select alarm list total, and done. There is still only one small thing missing, and it's the following. From the first picture, we would like to be able to jump to the event list or to the alarm list. So we would like to have two buttons here to give us the possibility to jump into these pictures. So how do we do that? We go to SLD elements, link to graphic, then drag and drop here. And we do it another time to have two buttons for that. Now, to assign the picture that should be open here, we go to the graphics tab. And then you drag the graphic to the button that should be displayed on that. As simple as that. This configuration of the Sicam HMI is already done, is complete. There are still some small things that we still need to fix in the system. We would like that whenever the user tries to access the Sicam web application, the Sicam HMI application is automatically open. So to do that, we need to set here in the configuration of the S8000 in the communication box under server services, the automatic log on via Sicam web option. This would be the first step. with this, every time that a user tries to open Sicam Web, it will be automatically logged in this case as an operator. Now, let's go further to the RTU settings. And here, under RTU common setting, process data, dashboard, I can select a start screen type position, like 1. We still don't have a tile position 1, but we select here nonetheless, and we will navigate further here to the tile definition. And we will add one new line here, which we will call Sicam Hmi maybe, and we'll select the position that we selected for startup 1. And most important of all, as layout, we say Sicam Hmi. That's it, that's all. After that, we can easily just upload this configuration in the S8000. And after we have done that, and we log in Sicam Web, we will open to this single line diagram where we can see all we draw exactly. And we can just navigate also to the event list, for example, which would look something like this. And we can navigate back to the single line. The same would be with the alarm list. As you have seen, it was quite simple, quite straightforward to configure a basic Sicam Hmi solution with Sicam Device Manager. Now, Michael will continue expanding a little bit about what is the future of this tool, what additional features we will have, and we will see you later in a few minutes.
Thank you, Jorge. Again, very impressive to see how easy it is to engineer a Sicam Hmi application. Let me now also round up your engineering demonstration in a summary and give you some outlook what is planned for the next steps with Sicam Hmi. First of all, the Sicam Hmi is not limited to our Sicam E8000 hardware, but you could see it also for S8000 and can therefore be installed on a third-party industrial PC due to the Sicam 8 platform approach. Sicam Hmi provides a web-based human-machine interface hosted in the Sicam A8000 or the Sicam S8000 automation units and can be used together with the S8000 functionality on the same device. Thanks to this solution, access to the different displays could be achieved through standard PCs or via inexpensive browsers such as tablets and small monitors, all while still following the highest cybersecurity standards. The graphic editor is fully integrated into the Sicam Device Manager, and no separate scalable vector graphic tool is necessary as in the past for creating this animated single-line pictures. It's possible to connect up to 2,000 data points animated in the single-line graphics. Worth mentioning is that the data point only used for the event and or the alarm list are not counting to this number. For small projects, meaning for up to 200 data points, the Sicam Hmi runtime is free of charge and doesn't need a license. A new and more powerful application for the event and alarm handling is coming together with the Sicam Hmi. Different event and alarm archives can be configured in the Sicam Hmi application, where up to 4,000 entries can be displayed, also here, free of charge. If a larger event archive is required, also this could be achieved through an additional license. Now also for the Sicam Hmi, a short glimpse on what can be expected in the next steps. For the Sicam Hmi, we plan also an upscaling of the data points, what can be dynamically used in the single lines. Additional modules, very often used within an HMI, together with an image, are planned also for the next steps. Examples for such modules are to have a measurement archive. The measurement values can be used in a trending functionality. An archiving also for fault records collected from connected protection IDs or dedicated fault recorders is also planned. And for the single line itself, the functionality of topological coloring to show what elements are connected to what level and what parts of the grid are, for example, earthed. And of course, much more will come in the future. So now we are more or less done with our presentation for today. But before we are coming to your hopefully many and burning questions, let me give you a final summary. With a platform, the workflow will become much easier. The data need only to be configured once and then mapped to the different applications that run as modules on the same host. That keeps the engineering workflow lean and, even more important, ensures consistency and reduces the error rate. But not only during the first implementation and commissioning of the system, but also during operation using one platform where the different software modules are running in a modular and coordinated way. That reduces the time for modification or extension and installation of new software modules or security patches. That saves time, and as we know, time is money. Using only one tool for the entire engineering workflow leads to reduced training times and better know-how of the engineering and operation staff. Also, this reduces error and, again, time. So, thank you for your attention. Now, let's call Jorge back to the stage for the question and answer session. Okay, let's see.
So basically, let's start. For example, the PSP asks if it is possible to create different color subjects in the HMI, and also if it is possible to give different color of alarms.
So in the first step, not, but that is on our roadmap. I know that it's a very important thing to have not to have as well, let's say, static colors in the single line diagrams, and to have also different colors for incoming, disappearing alarms and acknowledge alarms. That it's planned for one of the next steps, and also what I mentioned at the last point, topological coloring, where it's dynamically possible to change colors.
For the alarm list, of course, it will take some time. I'm not sure exactly.
It's but one of the next steps. The next step.
I have understood actually that from the very first version, it will be possible for you to create your own symbols with an SVG editor and import it and use it in the system. So there still will be a possibility. Of course, you have already some available symbols in the editor, so you don't need the SVG, but this is still a possibility.
So the next question, I'm guessing it's for you. We know all the answer because we are working on it. Here, the question is it compatible to use a Windows PC with a Linux virtual machine in terms of sharing communication network ports and so on?
This is how I'm working.
That is how we are working. But to be sure, the other question was is it planned to have the S8000 working also natively with a Windows operating system? That it's not planned. As well, our A8000 RTUs with embedded real-time Linux operating system, and also if you install it on a third-party PC with a Sicam 8 software solution, is based on Linux, not Windows. Okay.
So
there's also a question. IPC 225G Nanobox is currently only available with Windows 10. Installing Debian on the IPCs be part of the typical process? Yeah, you can of course also order an IPC 277G without operating system, and additionally from the colleagues, that's a colleague from Simatic, you can also order Linux operating system and then install it on the by your own. It's not coming from factory, but we are also interrogating that for the tested types, maybe we can have it directly with installed Linux.
I guess this is a question for you, Michal. Mm-hmm. Where is the link to get pricing of S8000 along with function points, just like we have for zip5 configurator?
Yeah, that is on the planning. Our colleague, it's working that, let's say, a selection tool, not only for the hardware, but also for the license file, will be made available in the industry mall. If you have an account, that it's easy, and in the price list, it should also be listed how many function points, what application will cost, but that will be provided.
So,
Okay, next question maybe for you, or we can answer together. Why do we need separate Sicam Device Manager HMI license? I thought we can use integrated web HMI, that it's built in.
that's it. The web HMI is integrated in S8000. This license is just for the configuration of the HMI.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have, you don't need to have specifically this device manager license for HMI configuration to run the HMI in one S8000, only to configure it once.
It's like if you know CPOTEC 5, you have also a web server on the Ethernet interface where you can have access with a browser to open the web UI. Here also the Ethernet interfaces are providing this functionality to be connected and see the configured HMI. But for configuring it, you need a license. And in the runtime, for a small application, it's free, up to 200 data points animated. If you want to have more, then you need a license, additional license.
Okay. It is possible to add SLD elements by the user. Yes, you can draw symbols in SVG editor and import them in the graphics. It's possible.
What about scripting in Sicam Web HMI? It's not in the first step, and as far as I know, it's also not planned.
Correct.
So you will not have, I don't know if this question will come later, it's not a replacement of Sicam SCC, where you have virtual basic script and so on. The functionality will be upscaled, of course, but you will not have all the functions what is available in Sicam SCC. Okay, the next one is A8000 able to work with IEC edition 1 and edition IEC 652? No and yes. Edition 1, it's no longer, if you go to the IEC communities, it's no longer supported, should be no longer be used. So we are supporting edition 2 and edition 2.1. Edition 1 is from the standardization gremium no longer supported and should not be used. Okay. Is it possible to set a filter for event list, and can we filter that dynamically, Jorge?
Basically, what we do is at the moment is you can create different ARC event lists for a specific events of a specific field, because every signal corresponds to a specific bay. Then you can have event lists already filtered by bay. What is not available at this very moment is this filter, but it's in the planning, and it will come quite soon.
Okay, the same is valid for the next question. I'm guessing, will Sicam HMI have ANSI symbols? Will it be possible to create own symbols? That it's planned for the future to create your own, not only using SVG graphics, but also create own symbols and place it in the library for use also in other projects. Exactly. That is on the roadmap, not in the first step. Okay.
Is it possible to attach interlocks to the commands in Sicam HMI, or will it be possible in the future? Basically, this Sicam HMI is the interface for web-based HMI for the RTU functionality. In the RTU functionality, it is possible, of course, to write interlocks. So this is like implicit there that yes.
Yeah, you can have, let's say, in traffic to use as input the signals that are going into the logic, create some blocks what is showing an end or get or whatever, replacing or showing in a graphical way the interlocking condition as an input signal, the conditions what are going into the interlocking and outgoing, it's interlocked or not interlocked. That it's possible. Yeah. Okay, the next thing is also very interesting. Will be available Profibus TP and Profinet protocols in the next steps?
These are already available. The Profibus TP and Profinet protocols are available in the A8000.
Yeah, but it's also planned for Sicam S8000, also for
but
use
not
in
in this first step.
Not in the first step, but it's planned in a similar way. Also for the software solution when you're using a third party.
Basically, every possible protocol that we have now in the A8000 is planned in the future for the S8000.
Exactly. The same is valid for the next question. Does S8000 support automatic fault recording like Sicam PRS? Not in the first step, but one of the new, let's say, modules I said, what can be used together in the HMI would also be then an archive for a fold recording. Yeah? Not in the first step, but it's planned.
What else? We are rewriting the symbols. We have already addressed that.
Okay.
I guess anyway, any open topic that we were not able to answer now, we will answer all of them.
Yeah.
And you will receive this answer later.
So we are already 5 minutes over time. So thank you for your very interesting question. And as Jorge mentioned, you will not only get access to the recording of this event directly after the session via the link you used to log in, and we will send you a link via email to the recording, and a little bit later for the questions you addressed and we answered, but also for the question we were unable to answer, you will get a link for a file to download also these questions where we did not have time enough. We hope that we were able to give you a good glimpse on the features and benefits of our Sicam S8000 and Sicam Hmi application. Followed, we will have this webinar series, and we have 2 dedicated sessions called My First Sicam S8000 and First Sicam Hmi project, where we even go more deeper into the topics we covered today as part of our Sicam 8 webinar series. And there you can to refresh what you learned today, but also to see more details on the workflow. We hope to welcome you soon in another webinar. You saw the QR code on the screen right now before. There you can register for additional sessions of the Sicam 8 webinar series. Also, if they are already over, if you register, you have access to the recordings. And more links for other webinars not related to Sicam 8. That were the last words. Thanks a lot for your attention. Until then, stay safe, take care, and enjoy the rest of the day. Cheers, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.